Okay, so welcome. It's 2 minutes past 2 to this first institutional level work group meeting, which I'm very honored to be chairing over the next couple of years. With me here today are also Gabor, who's chairing this cost action, and Brian, who's the grant manager. My name is Stefan Mol. I'm an assistant professor in organizational behavior and research methods here at the Amsterdam Business School in Amsterdam. I've been here for about 14 years or so, and in that time I've been working closely with Gabor, and I've also taken an interest clearly in researcher mental health. I hope you can see my screen. Is that? Yeah, you can. Okay, great. So then we'll proceed with my slides. Just a bit of Zoom etiquette, but I guess most of you are already used to Zoom meetings in this time. Please turn on your cameras, and in the Zoom profile, please provide your full name. Also, please turn off your microphone in this main room, at least when you're not talking. Do feel free to interrupt me at any point with questions or comments. And please do turn on your microphone in the breakout rooms that we'll be using during this session to get to know each other a little bit and exchange some initial thoughts as to the objectives of this work group. Okay, so on the agenda for today, basically I'd like to welcome you to this group. We have a few introductory rounds. Subsequently, I'll be talking a little bit about the aims and objectives of this working group. We'll have a quick look at the state of the art, the events that are coming our way in the near future. And subsequently, I would like to maybe gather your thoughts as to how to organize ourselves. And somewhere down there, we also have a bit of a SWOT analysis as to what are the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats facing this work group as we proceed. And we'll end this meeting by looking at the next steps and discussing any other business that you may have. To get us started, though, I was just curious if you could share from which city you are attending this meeting. To do so, please open a browser and go to menti.com, and there you can enter code 6176088. So if you go to menti.com and enter code 6176088, you should be able to enter a response to this question. And if all goes well, we should be seeing it emerge here on the screen. There we go, Budapest. If anybody else manages. There we go. Budapest, Brussels, Toulouse, Bratislava, Graz, Vilnius, Grenoble, Ankara. Wow, so it's a truly diverse and international crowd we have here today. Let's see if we can maybe gain some more responses. I see that about 10 people have responded. Oh, that's about 20 now. Fantastic. Mostly Europe, unsurprisingly. Yeah, diverse crowd, which will certainly come in handy as we move forward with this working group. Part of the objectives will focus indeed on conducting research and gathering data across all these countries. So that's definitely an exciting opportunity that lies ahead of us. As a second question, I wanted to ask, let me see if I can get this to work. I wanted to ask, what academic discipline are you active in? Assuming that you are active in an academic discipline, of course. And I'll quickly go to the breakout room to admit some more people. Wait for those responses to come in. For those of you who are just joining us, we're doing kind of a brief introductory round in which we're going to menti.com and using this code 6176088 to indicate the academic disciplines that we're active in. Seems to be a bit slow somehow. There we go. Wow, so broad range of disciplines ranging from psychology, so many psychologists here and psychotherapists, which maps neatly onto the problem area, I guess, of this cost network. We see business informatics, physics, medicine, gender studies, also a huge range of different disciplines represented in this working group, with, I guess, most people answering psychology and sociology. So there's multiple of us active in those disciplines. All right, so okay, so what we had in mind for today is to, rather than having a plenary introductory round, which I think would take forever with the number of people that are present here today, is to open up a number of breakout rooms. And essentially, I would like to ask you to take about 10 minutes in those breakout rooms and discuss these three questions. So first off, this is an opportunity to introduce yourself and your affiliation and what you're up to. And basically in the first round, what I would like to ask you to discuss amongst each other is what you expect to bring to this network. Okay, so what are the skills that you have, the expertise that you bring, the network and so forth, that the network might be able to draw upon. And then we'll come back into the main room and I'll split you up into a secondary session in which I'll get you to discuss what you expect to take from this ReMO network. Okay, so essentially we'll have two little sessions, and you should be shortly receiving an invitation to these breakout rooms. There's about 35 of us, so let's create about, I guess, about 8 rooms. And I will assign you automatically so that hopefully the second time around you'll be in a room with different people and you can reintroduce yourself to those people. So let me set that up. Yeah, you should have now received an invitation to join these breakout rooms, and I'll call you back here in about 10 minutes. All right, I think just about everybody should be back here. Great, I think there were already some nice discussions taking place in this first round. So we'll do this one more time, but this time I'll get you to think about what it is that you want to take from the ReMO network. And if it's budget, I'm afraid I will have to disappoint you because the budget of this project is quite limited. But one of the things that I think will be at the forefront of this particular working group is research. So perhaps you can start maybe discussing some ideas around there and maybe other things that you hope to be taking from your participation in this cost network. So I'll recreate the breakout rooms and I'll reassign you. Yeah, I'll give you another 10 minutes or so to converse with one another. Welcome back. So I didn't join any room this time around because I was waiting to see if any more people would be showing up, and I do indeed see 2 more people in the waiting room, so let me admit those. But as far as it goes for me, I think what I'd like to take away is yeah, networking, getting in touch with other people who have shared interests in this topic. Hopefully some interesting research, and I guess ultimately also perhaps some resources that I can use to improve things in my local context at some point. Yeah, that would be, I guess, for me, what I'd like to take away from this network. Okay, so it's clear that mental health is an issue in academia. So when I look at this study by Levesque et al., which was published in 2017, you see that as compared to the general population, basically PhD students are across the board experiencing, or at least reporting, more mental health problems as compared to those people in the highly educated general population.
Sorry, Stefan, are you sharing the screen? Because this is something I can't see.
That's a very good question. Then let me, I guess I'll have to reshare that. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so in this study, we see that across the board, PhD students are experiencing more mental health issues than people in a comparison group. And I think similar results have been reported by Guthrie et al. For higher education staff. And yeah, and also again, this idea that this is particularly the case for PhD students who I guess are facing high levels of work demands, low job control, job insecurity, and oftentimes poor supervisor support and so forth. Then Guthrie et al. Interestingly also identified gender as one of the key personal factors that is related to mental health, with women reporting more work-life balance issues and things like that. So this study too, I think, clearly evidences that there's work that lies ahead of us. Inge van der Weijden, who's I think present here today, also conducted research amongst PhD candidates at the University of Leiden, and came up with some suggestions for addressing this problem, ranging from supervisor training, career coaching, developing of transferable skills, and so forth. So when we look at the aims and objectives, and I just copied this from the proposal text, essentially, I think what we should aim for is to provide connections between various stakeholders active in well-being policies in research environments. And ultimately, what we are out to gather is evidence of what best practices look like. And as part of this cost action, we'll actually be engaging in the development of an evidence hub, which maybe Gabor can talk a little bit more about later on. And essentially, we want to share institutional learning. I guess a good part, or I foresee a good part of the work that lies ahead of us will also entail data collection efforts so that we can generate evidence for what works and what doesn't work and so forth, and hopefully feed our findings back into the institutions that we are working with and other institutions at the national level. So to sort of summarize, I think we want to address mental health within institutions. I think what oftentimes happens, and I see this myself in my research as a psychologist, it's almost like blaming the victim. So when it comes to mental health, we develop all sorts of training modules and so forth to help people help themselves. But I think an important issue is that, as a famous Dutch psychologist coined many years ago, his name was Kurt Lewin, so that behavior is a function of the person and the environment, and it's oftentimes much more difficult to address environmental or institutional factors that have a negative impact on mental health. So yes, we'll be collecting evidence and hopefully sharing institutional experiences that might ultimately yield effective institutional policies. So moving on, I thought like in light of these objectives, perhaps we could engage in a bit of a SWOT analysis. So as this working group, we can dream up all sorts of fantastic things that we could accomplish. But clearly, there's also the reality of the number of us and our expertise and so forth. So what I'd like you to do, and again in breakout rooms, is to sort of identify what you think are some of the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats that are facing this working group as we move forward. And when I talk about strengths, what I mean is things that we have available to us within this working group, so that are internal to this working group, that will help us move forward in reaching these objectives. What are the weaknesses? So what are the things within this working group that might be harmful to us achieving our objectives? And then in the environment, so outside of this working group, what are some opportunities that we could leverage? And also, what are some threats that could get in the way of us achieving our objectives, so externally, so to speak. And I've included on this slide a link to a website called Padlet, where in your groups you'll be able to record those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And hopefully in that process, and as you discuss amongst yourself, you will also see the list on that website sort of evolve and grow, and hopefully that'll be inspiring to yeah, maybe come up with other strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in your own discussions. So what I'll do now is I will again set up, let's say, about, we're now 38, so about 8 groups, and then I'll get you to work on the Padlet.
How do we know which group does which? Everyone works on everything?
Everyone works on everything.
Okay.
Yeah, so please, I'll give you about 10 minutes for this again. So please spend about 2 minutes on each topic. Is that enough? Gabor, what do you think?
I think we make it 15.
15, okay, I'll give you 15 minutes.
And then we still have half an hour too.
Yeah, great. I'll give you 15 minutes for this then, and please record what you come up with. So perhaps in your work, or sorry, in your breakout room, when someone is talking, you could be recording this in Padlet, and then we'll have a nice record of everything that we came up with at the end of this work group that we can share amongst ourselves.